Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our series, Abandoning the Pro-Choice Position. My name is Maeve Roach with Campaign Life Coalition, and with me today is the Moms Relations Manager, Alli Barrett from Let Them Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So to begin, you weren't always a diehard pro-lifer. Could you tell us about your pro-choice to pro-life conversion story, and perhaps what influenced this conversion?
Yeah, definitely. So to begin with, I just didn't really think much about the issue. I always say that I was kind of neutral, but if you're neutral, there's kind of like the default that you kind of fall for like the other side, if that makes any sense. So I would always say, I couldn't tell somebody what to do with their body. And I did kind of say like the woman should have a choice, but I never, like deep down inside, I knew I couldn't ever personally go through something like that. I had this like conscience of knowing that it actually was like the baby is like an actual life, but I never really voiced that because I just felt the other ones were, I was like, that was my thing and not somebody else's thing. So who am I to tell somebody what they can do? Maybe they're not in like a position as me, and the woman should have the choice. And I didn't really think much about it because I believe a lot of people believe in slogans that are just pushed in our culture, but they don't really take time to think more in depth about it. And I think there's also this fear, I know for me too, there's this fear of going against the grain and speaking out, especially now in this like very heavy climate that we're in. It's definitely, you face a lot of backlash, but speaking the truth is way more important than being afraid, I believe. And so that was when I was like a teenager, young 20s. And whenever I was 23, I believe it was either 22 or 23, I was on YouTube and I came across this pastor. I wasn't a believer yet either at this point. So I came across this pastor who does like debates with pro-choice women and people. And he was just so patient and kind, and he never made them feel stupid for asking like any questions or anything like that. But he was so smart, and his arguments or his like rebuttals to all of their questions, I saw that the pro-choicers were the ones actually getting really upset and mean and vicious, where he was just presenting logical, sound, science-based and backed facts. And I was like, whoa, I never really looked into this deeper. So once I started hearing more of like the stages of life and just kind of adding life to the baby and revealing the life to the baby, I was like, I don't think I really actually support this. And I really thought to look into it because I feel like people are too trusting in what they just read and see and not dive deeper as well and create their own thoughts and opinions as well. So that was kind of like my conversion into being pro-life.
That's amazing. I know I think it's fairly common for people who are kind of unsure about their positions to kind of stumble across some sort of YouTube video or some live debate, and suddenly they're like, wow, this is really compelling. This is really interesting. Maybe I need to think more about this. So that's amazing that you came to this conclusion. And so in your opinion, now that your mind has been changed about abortion, how do you think the pro-life movement as a whole can better convey the pro-life position in a manner that's receptive to pro-choicers, whether it be religious pro-choicers or secular non-religious pro-choicers?
I think it's really important to make them think and ask questions. I think it's once you kind of, because you can like talk at somebody all day long and they can just, you maybe plant a seed, but if you ask them and make them kind of stand on their own ground and it starts to crumble beneath them, I think that's way more powerful and eye-opening to them, because they're like, wow, you know what? I don't really know as much as I thought I did. And this person's presenting really good things to me. And it makes them, because like you're not like coming at them harshly. They might perceive it that way. You may not be, but because like I said, the pastor is really nice and calm and whatever, people would freak out on him. So it's may not be a you issue, but to just make them really think and kind of throw questions back at them that would make them think and I always watch debates and stuff to kind of learn how to do that. But yeah, I think it's really just really valuable to ask questions, and then also always come back to it. Our stance is really easy because our stance is simply that it's wrong to kill a baby under any circumstances. So always just come back to bringing life to the child, even if they throw like the really hard questions at you, like what about the instances in rape or, medical things? And, if you look into the statistics, the reasons for abortion, only less than 2% are actually from rape. The majority is from unwanted, unplanned. And there was another one, the medical procedures, that's also very rare. The medical procedure, if needed to save the mom's life versus baby's life, the doctor's going to try to save them both. And most often it's successful to save both lives. It's very, very rare to have a pregnancy and in such a travesty and a devastation event like that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right. And I think learning apologetics is a big part of better representing the pro-life movement, because you have to fully understand the pro-life position. You have to be able to defend your views. So I think by learning apologetics, is probably the best way to go about changing minds, because then you're equipped with the responses to potentially change hearts and minds. So I'm just curious, you work for Let Them Live now. So how did that come about, and how has it been for you to go from pro-choice to now working for a pro-life movement that helps women?
It was all totally God. It was such a weird thing. He started putting the issue of abortion on my heart, and I was confused and like, I don't understand why you are putting this on my heart, because I've never had a pregnancy scare. I've never been through an abortion or even, thought, been in a position to have that choice, consider that option. So I was like, this makes no sense. And sometimes God seems that way to us. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So, but I started praying about it, and he was giving me dreams and all these things. And there was one day when I went to a prayer meeting very early at my church, and I was praying, and God told me, you need to pray for the issue of abortion. And I prayed, and little did I know that on that day was the day that the heartbeat law got passed in Texas. And I had no idea. I try to keep up with politics, but now it's like so crazy, so I had no idea that was being passed. And then there is this Christian influencer that said, it's amazing that all of these pro-life bills are being passed, but that does mean that these women will need places to go to and resources for them to help. And so I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I was donating to Let Them Live at this point. And I saw a few months ago at this point that they posted about 3 months ago or so that they needed pregnancy counselors. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'll do that. I'll try to talk to women, because I like to, do apologetics and defend and, counsel people as well. So I applied for that position as a volunteer. And then the next day they got back to me, and the next day I was like training. So it happened like so fast. It was crazy. So that was totally a God thing. And then I just loved it, and I took off running with it. And I loved talking to these women. And then I just, got promoted to full-time and the mom's relations manager. And it's something that I never thought I would be doing at all. Like, if you told me that I would for one be a Christian, for two working for a pro-life organization, I'd be like, you have me solely mistaken, like sorely mistaken. I don't know who you're talking to. But it was really cool. And I will say that even though culture says that women should have a choice, a lot of these women are so emotionally torn and in such a devastating place. They really don't want an abortion. Almost all the women that I've talked to and counseled, virtually all of them regret their abortion. It doesn't matter if it's 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. If they tell me about it and we start talking about it, they cry as if it happened just yesterday. And it really does. I think a lot of people want to shout their abortion, but nobody gives the women space to grieve and to deal with their pain. I feel like the women feel that they have to shove it down because the culture says that you should be celebrating and it's awesome, you have bodily autonomy and like whatever else, but it is, killing a life, and that should emotionally affect the women, and it does very much so. So some days are hard with the women, but it's awesome to just come alongside them and speak life into them and nurture them and let them know that they are forgiven, that they are loved, and that they can make a better choice than the one that they did in the past. Or even if they've never been post-abortive, then to share those testimonies as well. It's like, listen, like, it's not as good as it seems, it does emotionally affect you, and we don't want you to go through that.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. And God bless all of the work that you're doing. It's very inspiring to see people who were formerly pro-choice and now you're working like on the front lines helping these women, and helping them heal from their abortions and helping counsel them through their unplanned pregnancies. So it truly is amazing and inspiring, and I just want to applaud all of the incredible work that you're doing and all of the incredible work that Let Them Live is doing, and other pro-life charities that reach out to women. So it's just so inspiring, and God bless you. Keep up on the fight, and we're just so glad that you've joined the movement and are doing these amazing things now.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And yes, me too. It's awesome. It's all God. So
well, thank you so much for joining us today, and all the best. Thank you for sharing your story.
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.